Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I'm going to talk about this massive blog post that gives us the roadmap of everything that's going to happen in 2022. Of course, Scopely decided to release it with very little notice while I was on a business trip, so you're going to hear the first video ever recorded on my iPad, so hopefully this works. So, look, I think the bottom line here is it seems like apocalypse is going to be the focus of all of 2022. And I don't, it's interesting. I think there's going to be fun elements to it, but it definitely doesn't seem player friendly to me. So now the next four legendary. So it appears that there's four horsemen. They're going to be new, unique characters, as far as I could tell, probably new Kestrel type characters, right, that we haven't heard about before. They're all going to be legendaries, and you're going to need all of them to get on Apocalypse. And oh yeah, to get these horsemen, you're going to have to do mini Dark Dimensions. Okay, well that's kind of cool, because as you guys know, I like Dark Dimension, I like racing it and all that, but you're going to actually, to get these characters at a high enough level, you're going to actually have to guess what? Purchase and gear up these new teams. So if you didn't like Web Warriors or Dark Hunters and you were going to skip them, well, now you can't. And so that's the bottom line here, is that really what it sounds to me like is that these new Scourge, what they call Scourge events for these four horsemen, are basically ways of inducing us to get and use these new teams. Now, I will say I think the Scourge events sound cool. It sounds like a fun way of unlocking these characters. I think it's more fun than just the typical legendary unlock, so I think that's cool. But the reality is, if for players who are not able to unlock and gear up all these new teams, this sounds to me like you're essentially going to be, even more behind. I do get the sense that they're going to be kind of tiering the players, where if you are not doing, getting those offers to get these new characters, you're going to be sort of out of luck. And, right now that is certainly the case with legendaries. I don't want to say that, it isn't the case that you get the second run of a Mega Red versus the first, but, being a few months behind on one legendary is one thing, but basically, essentially they're making it where I assume Apocalypse is going to be absolutely insane. And so if you're not really going to unlock all four of these horsemen the first time, I assume you're not going to get Apocalypse. So it's just they're raising the stakes for all of us again. I have to say I don't like that. I don't think it's player friendly. It's not the direction I think the game should be going, but it is what it is. I mean, that is what we've got here, and you could see, I do think there'll be fun elements to it. I think there'll be a challenge to it, because as you can see, they essentially are making it so you get to choose certain debuffs you want on your team or buffs to the enemy. That'll make it more of a challenge. I do think that's going to be fun. I think that it's certainly a better gameplay decision than like RTA and some of the choices they made in the past. It definitely plays to the strength of the game, which is trying to plot out the right team to beat an opponent. But it's also much more of a pay-to-win element than they've even had in the past. It's just increasing, I think, the pressure that people already feel to have to try to build everything. So, that's my take on this. I'm sorry, I have to say I'm not that excited about the news, because I just don't think it's that great for most of the player base, and that's why I felt compelled to make this video. The rest of this, I have to say, was just okay. I don't really, the MSF.gg stuff, I feel like we already knew about. I already did a video with those founders. I didn't really think we learned anything new there. All we really learned about what they used to call Grand Tournament, which they call here Cosmic Crucible. So that's their new name for it. It is essentially a ripoff of Grand Arena from Galaxy Heroes, which is great, because that's a really fun game mode in that game that I play. It's the Star Wars version of Marvel Strike Force, essentially, which is good. And they basically copy a lot of the rules there. However, in that game, if you can actually undersize and be more efficient about your attacks, you get more points. That's really how the tiebreaker works there. In other words, in Galaxy Heroes, if you can beat 5 characters with 2, you get an advantage out of that. Here, it's going to be, of course, what the highest TCP is. That's the tiebreaker. So, of course, in Scopely's rewarding the people who have built more stuff. So shocker there. We'll see. I think that I'll have another video coming out where I'll give some more thoughts about this game mode. I do think this is something I'm very excited about because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That I genuinely like. It will definitely create more of a pressure on us to build more teams and this and that. I think it's going to change the valuation of certain teams. I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. But this was, I think, relatively positive because it appears to me that they understand the concept of the Grand Arena and they're from Galaxy Heroes, which is a fun game mode that I've played elsewhere, in that game, and they're porting it over. That's good. The rest of this I don't think is all that important. I mean, costumes are what they are. I mean, whatever. The Avengers Tower improvements and all that, I think that's great. The squad tabs and all that stuff. These economy improvements I thought were actually pretty underwhelming for the most part. I mean, removing minions from the Red Star Orbs is a very minor fix because, let's be real, they haven't released new minion characters in a long time. So this is just them talking about something that, has a minor, very minor increase, right? It's only for Elite 6s and 7s, and it's just removing a few characters. So I didn't really view that as a big change. They claim that they're going to have some new, changes to the economy for gear, but that seems fairly minor as well. I don't really, it's not what I think players were looking for. They're looking for something pretty substantial in terms of a change in the economy, and that doesn't appear to be there. The quality of life improvements definitely are fine. I'm not bothered by the fact that they're making hard mode for the event campaigns a little harder. I think it's, it makes sense a little bit to make it so it's less autoable. I think as a practical matter, that may mean less shards for many players, but I understand at least why they're doing it. But the rest of the stuff was just okay. I have to say, this was an interesting blog post. There's definitely some things to be excited about. I think Apocalypse is cool. I'm always excited for new characters. I'm excited about new things coming out, but I imagine a lot of you are going to be disappointed, and with good reason, because this is going to be fun in certain respects, but for a lot of the player base, I think you're going to feel like you're left out of the excitement. All right, guys, if you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. If you got comments or questions, leave them below or put it on my Discord, which is linked below. You can also check out the link to my Twitch stream, which is linked below as well.